In Abu Dhabi, the sound of applause rises inside the National Exhibition Centre as dignitaries, delegates and energy executives take their seats for the opening of the International Petroleum Exhibition and Conference, known worldwide as ADIPEC. Cameras sweep across the vast hall, rows of national flags, glowing digital backdrops, and a stage lit in cool blue. The United Arab Emirates has long treated this gathering as more than an annual industry meetup. It's a statement of intent. From the heart of the Gulf, a country that built its modern identity on oil wealth is now positioning itself as a bridge between the hydrocarbon past and a lower carbon future. At the centre of that message stands Sultan Al Jaber, the UAE's Minister of Industry and Advanced Technology, and a figure increasingly recognised as one of the world's most pragmatic energy diplomats. As he walks to the podium, the audience settles. His tone is calm but confident, part technocrat, part visionary. He begins by acknowledging the uncertainty in global markets, but insists the world must look beyond short-term turbulence. While we may face headwinds in the months ahead, he says, his voice carrying through the hall, the long-term outlook shows demand growth for every form of energy across every market. That single line sets the theme of the morning. In a world obsessed with polarization, fossil fuels versus renewables, old industries versus new, Al Jaber argues for realism. For him, the global energy landscape is not a battlefield of competing resources, but a system that must expand on every front to meet rising demand. He reminds the delegates that billions of people are still seeking reliable power. Electricity is no longer a luxury, but a foundation of modern life. And the coming decades, he notes, will stretch that demand like never before. Electricity demand will keep surging through 2040, he continues, as power for data centres grows fourfold, 1.5 billion people move into cities, and more than 2 billion air conditioners come online. On the screen behind him, graphics show digital clouds and urban skylines, images representing the data-driven future. He connects these facts not as abstract projections, but as a story about everyday life. Millions of people logging online, new apartments rising across Asia and Africa, families installing their first cooling units. The implication is unmistakable. Energy consumption will keep growing because human progress demands it. Then his tone shifts toward mobility and trade. Aviation will also take off, he says, pausing slightly on the phrase, with the global airline fleet doubling from 25,000 to 50,000. The audience murmurs. The statistic underscores both opportunity and challenge. More planes mean more connections and more emissions. To balance that reality, he lays out a vision in numbers that catch every ear. As a result, renewables will more than double by 2040. LNG will grow by 50%, jet fuel will grow by more than 30%, and oil will stay above 100 million barrels per day beyond 2040. Those figures form the backbone of his argument. Despite talk of decline, oil remains central to the world's economic engine. Yet he also highlights that renewables, solar, wind, and hydrogen are accelerating faster than ever. It's not one or the other, it's both. The camera cuts to rows of international delegates taking notes, CEOs, policymakers, engineers. For them, this speech isn't just rhetoric. It's a signal from one of OPEC's most influential voices that the energy transition will be defined by coexistence, diversification rather than abandonment. Outside the conference halls, Abu Dhabi itself embodies that balance. On the horizon, oil rigs stand distant against the shimmering Gulf waters, while inland solar panels glint across vast desert fields. The UAE has pledged to achieve net zero emissions by 2050, the first major oil-producing nation to do so. For Al Jaber, that pledge is not contradictory. It's proof that adaptation and ambition can move in parallel. He reminds listeners that this transformation will require partnership, not polarization. The world must work together, he says in measured cadence, pointing out that both traditional and emerging producers must invest in cleaner technologies. Carbon capture, hydrogen fuel, nuclear and renewable integration are all part of the same solution. In his view, the real threat is not the existence of hydrocarbons, but the lack of investment in making them cleaner. For years, he has warned that underinvestment in oil and gas could trigger volatility and harm developing economies most. Today, he reaffirms that position, stressing that energy security, affordability, and sustainability are inseparable. The audience listens closely. His words echo through an industry facing pressure from every direction. investors demanding lower emissions, governments pushing climate targets, and consumers seeking stable prices. As the speech unfolds, the voiceover narrative deepens into analysis. Around the world, power grids are straining. The International Energy Agency projects global electricity demand to rise more than 25% by 2040, driven by the surge in electric vehicles and data processing. Nations are racing to secure critical minerals and diversify fuel supply. In that race, the UAE wants to be a convening power. A DIPEC, once a conventional oil gathering, now attracts renewable developers, AI engineers, and climate financiers. The name may still carry petroleum, but the conversation has shifted toward energy transition. The camera pans to exhibition booths showcasing hydrogen electrolyzers and carbon capture modules. Next to them, oil majors unveil digital control centers powered by AI. It's a glimpse of an industry trying to reinvent itself without abandoning its roots. The voiceover bridges to the broader geopolitical context. In the same year, global conflicts have disrupted supply routes, underscoring how fragile the energy chain can be. The Red Sea, the Black Sea, and the Panama Canal all serve as reminders that transportation of fuel, whether crude or liquefied natural gas, remains the backbone of global trade. When Al-Jaber says demand will grow across every market, he's referencing this interconnected web from African power plants to Asian megacities. Energy, he implies, is not a regional issue. It's the bloodstream of globalization. He has been delivering this message consistently, including as president of COP28 last year in Dubai, where he urged negotiators to move from pledges to progress. Critics accused oil producers of slowing climate action, but Al-Jaber's approach has been to merge pragmatism with innovation, encouraging investments in renewables while keeping legacy systems efficient. Back inside ADIPEC, his tone turns aspirational. He reminds participants that innovation has always defined human advancement. The Industrial Revolution, the computing era, and now the digital age, each wave built on energy. Without stable power, he says, there can be no AI revolution, no smart cities, no global connectivity. The audience nods as he cites examples of countries using energy reform as a catalyst for growth. He praises partnerships that integrate solar parks with gas-fired balancing plants and applauds the role of nuclear power in creating baseline stability. Then comes a subtle appeal that developed nations must help finance transitions in emerging markets. No one should be left behind, he emphasizes. Access to energy, he insists, is the foundation of equality. The narration expands on this idea. Billions still cook with firewood or lack refrigeration. For them, the energy transition cannot simply mean cutting consumption. It must mean gaining access without emissions. That paradox lies at the heart of global policy, how to raise living standards while lowering carbon footprints. In the exhibition corridors, delegates from Africa, Asia, and Latin America discuss investment terms, power grid modernization, and clean fuel shipping corridors. The mood is businesslike, yet hopeful. For every chart showing rising emissions, there's another showing plunging costs of solar power and battery storage. The voiceover reflects on the UAE's strategic positioning. As a founding member of OPEC and now a leading investor in renewables through Masdar, the country embodies a dual identity. It sells energy to the world while funding the technologies that could one day replace its own exports. That balance, Al-Jaber believes, is not hypocrisy. It's leadership through transition. He underscores that energy policy cannot be emotional. It must be mathematical. Demand forecasts, population growth, and infrastructure planning all point to a simple truth. The world needs more of everything, more electrons and more molecules. Denying that reality, he suggests, risks energy shortages that would harm economies and climate progress alike. The voice softens, almost reflective. The challenge ahead is not to choose between fuels, but to accelerate efficiency. Cleaner extraction, carbon-neutral shipping, sustainable aviation fuel, and large-scale carbon capture facilities will define the next industrial chapter. In the audience, applause breaks out again, brief, then fading into quiet attention. Many of those listening are veterans of the sector, people who have witnessed oil booms and price crashes now facing the dawn of a new energy order. The narrator continues, the significance of this speech extends beyond ADIPEC's walls. It sends a message to investors that the Gulf intends to remain at the centre of global energy strategy. It tells climate advocates that producers are not retreating from responsibility. And it signals to policymakers that cooperation, not confrontation, will determine whether the world meets both climate and development goals. As the ceremony closes, the stage lights dim, and Al Jaber steps down from the podium, greeted by delegates. Reporters crowd near, capturing final sound bites. Outside, in the cool desert air, the conversation continues between engineers, entrepreneurs, and officials, all trying to decipher what the next 15 years will look like. The narration lingers on the contrast. Abu Dhabi's skyline glowing with electric light, each bulb powered by a system in flux, part fossil, part renewable, entirely indispensable. Energy, the voice reminds viewers, is not just about supply, it's about civilization itself. Every connection, every innovation, every leap forward begins with power. Sultan Al Jaber's message at ADIPEC 2025 is clear. The future will demand more of every source, but it will also demand smarter choices, cleaner methods, and stronger collaboration. As delegates depart and the exhibition floors empty, the echo of that vision remains: growth and responsibility, progress and prudence, coexistence between oil rigs and solar farms. The story of energy, he suggests, is not ending, it's evolving. And the world's ability to meet its promises will depend on whether it listens to that truth.